2 years out from retirement, the decisions that determine your tax bill, your income, and how long your money lasts. If you are within 2 years of retirement, this video is specifically for you. 30 years of saving, investing, and building got you here, and the next 24 months determines what you actually get to keep and how reliably you get to live on it. If that's worth 6 minutes of your time, stay with me. And if you're finding this content useful, please hit that like and subscribe button. It helps more people find this and it keeps us making more of it. Now, let's get into it. Today I want to cover 3 things: taxes, income, and longevity. Each one has a decision point that is either open right now or closing fast, and most people arrive at retirement without having made any of them deliberately. Let's start with taxes, because this is the one that surprises people the most. When you retire, and before you turn on Social Security, and before the IRS forces you to start taking required minimum distributions at age 73 from your IRA, there is a window. It may be 2 years, it may be 4, but for a lot of people, it is right now. And in that window, your taxable income is lower than it ever has been as a working adult. You are no longer getting a paycheck from your job, you haven't turned on Social Security yet, and the government has not started forcing you to take money out of your IRA. That combination creates a rare opportunity to move money from your traditional IRA or 401k into a Roth account at a lower tax rate than you'll ever have to pay again. And here's what it looks like in practice. If you take a working couple with $1.2 million in traditional retirement accounts, 2 years from retirement, if they do nothing, every dollar that comes out of that account plus everything that it grows to in retirement gets taxed as ordinary income. And when Social Security kicks in, when RMDs start at age 73, their taxable income climbs, their tax bracket goes up, and they are potentially paying more in Medicare surcharges on top of all of that because of a threshold called IRMA that most people haven't heard about until they get the bill. Now, if you take that same couple and they run, let's say, $60,000 a year in Roth conversions across those 2 years before retirement, they will pay tax on that money now at a lower rate and move it into an account that is grown and withdrawn completely tax-free for the rest of their life. The projected tax savings over a 25-year retirement on that move alone can exceed $150,000. And the window to do this is open right now. Once you cross the retirement line and income sources start layering back on, that window starts closing. Now, the second decision is income, and specifically the sequencing of it. Most people approach retirement income the way they approach a buffet. So everything's available, so take a little bit of everything. Social Security, IRA withdrawals, maybe a pension, brokerage accounts. The problem is that every one of those sources is taxed differently, timed differently, and it interacts with the others in ways that can either cost you or protect you depending on the order that you turn them on. Social Security alone is a decision that most people get wrong because claiming early at 62 versus waiting to age 70 is not just a math question about break-even points. It's a question about how your income sources interact over a 30-year retirement, what it does to your surviving spouse's benefit, and how it affects the taxability of everything else you are receiving. Now, the 2 years before retirement are when this sequencing gets designed, not after. Because once you start pulling from accounts and turning on income sources, reversing course is either impossible or expensive. The third decision is longevity. And I want to be direct about a couple of things that fall into this category. The first is healthcare. If you are retiring before age 65, you have a gap before Medicare will step in and help you cover your health insurance. That gap means that you're either paying for COBRA or going to the marketplace or going without. And the income decisions that you make in those years directly affect what you pay for Medicare once you do turn 65. Because IRMA, that surcharge I mentioned earlier, is calculated on your income from 2 years prior. So the income choices that you make at age 63 show up in your Medicare premium at age 65. And that's not an abstraction. That's a real number that compounds every year you are in retirement. The second longevity decision is long-term care. And I raise it here not to alarm you, but because the window for this was kind of got biological clock on it. The long-term care insurance is written or underwritten based on your health at the time that you apply. So the longer you wait, the more likely it is that something in your health history makes you uninsurable or prices you out. For most people, the mid-50s to early 60s window is where coverage is still accessible and where premiums are still manageable. And if you're 2 years away from retirement and you haven't had this conversation, now is the time. Not because long-term care is inevitable, but because the ability to plan for it isn't. Here's the thing that I want you to take away from all of this. None of these are decisions that you figure out after you retire. The Roth conversion window closes as your income rises. The Social Security sequencing has to be designed before you pull the trigger. And the healthcare and IRMA interactions has got to be mapped out before you start drawing income. Long-term care conversation has to happen while you're still healthy enough for it to matter. Now, 2 years sounds like a long time. In retirement planning terms, it's the last stretch of runway. You have to make these moves. And if you're in that window and you want to sit down and actually look at where you stand across all three of these areas, it's exactly what our Great Life meeting is for. It's not a sales call, it is a planning process, and it starts with a real look at your tax picture, your income sequencing, and your longevity exposure together in one place. The link to schedule that is in the description. Your runway is open. Use it.